أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to everybody present in the class today, Thursday. I'm going to start, as we're always going to be doing, inshallah, with the opening dua. And if I may have a young student on the mic to recite the dua with me, please.
What?
Okay, let me choose a tifl, A1203. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, darling. How are you?
Good.
Okay, well done, mashallah. Okay, so we're going to start with our opening dua. Okay, if you follow with me, repeat after me, and everybody at home, if you could also follow how we are reading. And we are going to start, as we should always do, by seeking refuge in Allah from Satan first. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Well done, mashallah. Okay then, so today's Thursday, so we are going to read this dua, which has been highlighted in color. Okay, so repeat after me, sweetheart. Let me just press it. Then you will follow as I'm reading. Rabbi
Allimni
ma huwa khayrun
ma huwa khairum ma huwa khairul
Well done.
innaka.
Well done, mashallah. That was very nice reading. Okay, if you could read the English translation.
O my Lord, teach me what is best for me in your knowledge.
Okay, well done.
Tazkira.
Well done. Okay, that was very nice. Yes, in the brackets we have a reference here. Do you know what Tazkira is?
No.
Okay, that's no problem. Okay, I will explain. Tazkira is a collection of dreams and revelations that were sent to the promised Messiah, Islam. And they were collected and put into a book, and it's called Tazkira. And if you were to look in there, you would find this particular dua. So this is a dua that we do on Thursdays, and it comes from this collection here. Okay. Okay, then Jazakumullah sweetheart for your help, and maybe we will be calling you.
I love this.
Sweetheart.
उन्होंने तुम्हें कहा अल्लाह हाफिज पहले कह दिया वो बोल रही हैं बड़ी बैड मैनर्स हो
Okay, so let me just now call another student to the mic and ask them if they can hear me. A1202. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, darling. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not too faint.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So if you can hear me, the student recited the dua. I'm assuming that's going to be okay. Okay, thank you, sweetheart. Allah Hafiz. Okay, so let's now get on with the lesson. We've done our opening dua. Today is the third teaching day that we've got. We had an orientation section on Monday where we went through quite a lot of presentations explaining to you login procedures, how to download lessons, etc. And that was a pretty heavy lesson, I know, lots of information, but it's all very useful and stuff that you will need as you go through the course. If anything you haven't found was clear, please feel free to contact us on our email address, and I will show you the email address here. Okay, info@nqc.org.uk. Any problems, anything that you are struggling with, just send an email, and we try and get back to you. We try to get back to you within 24 hours. Okay. Okay, so as I said, we've had 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, of teaching, and on the third day, our general pattern will be a recap of whatever we've been teaching. And so today, we are going to just recap a little bit on some of the things that you've been taught. And I'm going to go back to what you were taught on Tuesday, which was the Arabic letters. And I'm going to go through this particular pronunciation guide and explain to you how you can make best use of it. Okay. Now, if you look underneath, let me get 1 second. Yeah. Okay. If you look underneath, okay, that's not really working anymore. Okay. If you look underneath the letters, you will see in blue how the letters are sounded. Okay, so you get the Arabic letter here, underneath how you are meant to read it in English, so it's alif. But underneath, you then get how the sound is made up. So for alif, you have an a, l, f sound, alif. This is how to use a pronunciation guide. When you're practicing the letters, have a look underneath and make sure you only pronounce the sounds that are within that letter. Don't pronounce anything else. And to illustrate that, I'm going to go through a few of the letters and explain to you how to make the correct sounds. The first one that I'm going to focus on is this letter here with the 3 dots. A little boat shape, 3 dots on the top. Tha. Tha. Okay. When you pronounce this, the correct way to pronounce it is to take the tip of your tongue and place it in between the front 2 teeth and then say tha, tha. Okay, so if you were to say in English the word think, how the th sounds, that's exactly how you pronounce this letter here, tha. Okay, so moving on from that, we are going to go to 3 different letters. This one here, okay, ha. This one here, ho, and one that's further down here, ha. Now these sounds are very similar, and I want to explain to you how to differentiate between the 3 sounds. This first one here, this one comes from the middle of your throat. So when you are going to sound this out, try and make sure that the sound comes from the middle of your throat. So it should sound like ha, ha. Smile as you say it, and the sound will come out nice and thin, which is what this sound should be. Ha, ha. If you compare it to this particular word here, or this letter here, this one here comes from the top of your throat, from the very back of your mouth, and it's pronounced like this, ho, ho. Round your mouth as you say it, okay, because this is a slightly thicker sound, ho, ha, ho. And if we compare it now to this last one here, this comes from the bottom of your throat. So what you do is you take a breath, ha, ha. It comes from the very bottom of your throat. These 3 sounds are different. If you are reading Arabic, those sounds have to be correct in order for people to be able to understand what you've read. Okay? Now, let me just call, if I may have a student on the mic, please.
Assalamualaikum. Last have 1289 now has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, darling. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, well done. Well done. Okay, so I've just taught about 4 letters, how to pronounce them properly, okay? Would you like to repeat for me how to pronounce this letter here that I'm circling with the 3 dots on the top?
Sah.
Okay, well done. That's very nice. Let's just try and make it a little bit more perfect, okay? Take the tip of your tongue in between your teeth and say tha.
Sah.
Okay. Say the English word think.
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 Well done. Okay. And so, you know the very first sound, the th, you try and make that sound as you say this letter. Tha.
Dah.
Well done. Okay. That's how you pronounce that particular letter. Okay, this one here that I'm moving my cursor underneath, have a go at pronouncing that. Try and get the sound from the middle of your throat.
Ha.
Okay. Smile as you say it.
Ha.
Well done. That's it. It's a thin sound, okay? And it comes in the middle of your throat. If you smile as you say it, the sound comes out much, much nicer. Ha.
Ha.
Well done. Okay, this letter here, have a go at pronouncing this.
Ha.
Well done. Round your mouth a little bit more.
Ha.
Well done. That's very, very nice. And can you tell the difference between this and this now that you've said them properly?
Yes.
Yes, well done. Okay, so you round your mouth as you say the ho. Okay, so now have a go at making this sound here.
Ha.
Okay, take a breath and then try and say it.
Ha.
Well done. And now smile as you say it.
Ha.
Well done. Now take a deeper breath.
Ha.
Well done. Okay, and that's what you should do. Take a breath and then the sound will automatically come from the bottom of your throat. Now some of these sounds will take some practice, okay? But if you understand what they're supposed to sound like and where they come from, it makes it much easier. Make sure you practice because correct pronunciation is quite important. If your name is, for example, Munib, and I say Junib, that's incorrect, isn't it? I need to say the meme at the beginning so that I can, address a person properly. So it's the same in Arabic. Just because 2 letters sound a little bit similar, you mustn't mix them up. Okay. Now, Jazakumullah for your help, sweetheart. Let me go on and I will explain some other sounds. Well done. Okay, so now that we've done those letters, let's go through and look at this letter here that I'm circling, Seen. Okay, this is a very thin sound. Okay, when you say it, smile. Make your lips as thin as possible, Seen. It should be a very thin sound. When you get to the end, there's a noon sound, okay? If you look underneath, there's a sa, I, n. Seen. Now notice when I end, seen. The noon, there's no bouncing on the noon. I'm not saying seen. There's no bouncing on the noon. Now if you practice at home, seen, notice what your tongue does when you reach the noon sound. The tongue touches your bridge, the bridge of your mouth, just behind your teeth. When you come to the noon, just leave your tongue there and stop the sound, and then you'll stop the bouncing. Seen, seen. Just leave the tongue at the top of your mouth and the sound should come out properly. Okay, let me call, may I have a student on the mic to practice that sound, please?
A122 now has the mic. Sorry, A1226.
A1226.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, darling. Okay, so sweetheart, have a go at pronouncing this particular letter that's circling here.
Seen.
Well done. Now, at the end, there's a noon sound. I don't want you to bounce on the noon sound. I want you to end the noon sound very clearly, very succinctly. When you get to the noon sound, your tongue should be touching the top of your mouth, just behind your front 2 teeth. Just leave it there and stop the sound.
Okay.
One more time.
Seen.
Well done. Beautiful. Did you notice the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure you stick with that, okay? Because you shouldn't bounce on the end of that. Now stay with me, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to go through another 2 letters. So if you stay with me, be very, then you can do the next 2 letters. I'm now going to go on to this sound here, this one that I'm circling, okay? God.
Sword.
Well done. You have to round your mouth as you say it. It's a thicker sound than this scene. You round your mouth with this one and you stretch it out. Sword.
Sword.
Well done. Now, when you get to the end, if you look underneath, it shows you that the sound is made up of so, the. These 3 sounds make up this letter. When you get to the at the end, you have to do a little bit of a bounce, okay? Sword.
Sword.
Well done. Yeah. Practice on that bouncing at the end, yeah? With the scene, you don't bounce. You end the sound very clearly, very distinctly. With the sword, you bounce at the end. Sword.
Sword.
Okay. Round your mouth a tiny bit more. Make it a little bit heavier. Sword.
Sword.
Well done, mashallah. That was very, very nice. Stay with me, okay? I'll explain the next letter here. This one here is made up of 3 sounds again. The, the. This sound here is a little bit tricky for many students because it's not something that you come across in the English language. So the way to pronounce this is now just picture your mouth and picture your upper teeth. And with your tongue, curl one side. It doesn't matter if it's the left side or the right side. And make the curled part of your tongue touch all the way along the teeth on that side, on the top, okay? And then the right sound should come up. Dod.
Dod.
Well done. Okay, now round your mouth a little bit more. Dod.
Dod.
Mashallah, very, very nice reading. Yes. This sound here is a thick, heavy sound. You have to round it. The tongue, you have to curl up on one side and make sure it touches the teeth all the way along on the top, on that side. And then it'll come out nice and thick and heavy and bounce at the end. Dod.
Dod.
Well done. Mashallah, very, very nice reading. Okay, Jazakumullah for your help on that one, sweetheart. Allah Hafiz for now.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, so now let's move on to 2 other sounds which frequently give people. This one here, do. Do. This is a thicker, a heavier sound. You round your mouth, do. It's a very soft sound, do. On the mic.
Assalamualaikum, would you like another student?
Yes, please.
Sorry, that's N1273 now has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. Nasirat N127.
Sorry, that's N1273.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, darling. How are you?
Good.
Alhamdulillah. Okay then. So have a go at making this sound. Do.
Do.
Okay. That was very nice. Okay. But let's make it a little bit better, yeah? Round your mouth as you say it. Do.
Do.
Okay, well done. Now, with your tongue, yeah, try not to touch the front 2 teeth, yeah? Round your mouth, curl up your tongue and say, do.
Do.
Beautiful, mashallah, very, very nice. You've got to make this sound nice and soft, okay? Because it's a nice and soft sound. Okay, well done for doing that. Let's move on to this letter here. Stay with me and I'll just bring this. This round your mouth again. It's a very nice, soft sound. Round your mouth as you say it and you say, oh.
Do.
Well done. A little bit rounder, a little bit softer. Zo.
So.
Well done. Try and make your tongue a little bit rounder. As you say, your mouth should be round, your tongue should be a little bit fatter and thicker and rounder. Zo.
So.
Beautiful, mashallah, very, very nice. These two letters here are nice and thick and soft and heavy, okay? One more time with me. To,
To.
zo.
So.
Okay, and again, to,
To.
zo.
So.
Okay, well done. Practice on that. Round your mouth as you read them. So, look for your help on that one. And Allah Hafiz for now. Okay, so now let's move on and do this letter here. This particular letter. Okay, bear with me for a second. Okay, this particular letter here is something that doesn't really occur in any language as far as I'm aware. And it's not a particularly difficult letter once you get used to it, but it does require practice. It's from the very middle of your throat, and it's pronounced like this. Ain, ain. The way to get the sound out is to take two fingers and put them right in the middle of your throat, okay? Touch the very middle of your throat and sound just from there. Ain. If I may have a student on the mic, please.
Assalamualaikum. It's N1303 and I have the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. And 1303. Okay, sweetheart, are you with me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well done. Okay, sweetheart, if you can have a look at this particular letter that I'm circling, have a look at that.
Okay. Ain.
Okay, that was very nice, I'm sure. Your sound cut out for me, so if I could hear it one more time.
Ain.
Mashallah, that was very, very nice. Very, very nice. You are basically there. We just need to work on it a tiny, tiny bit, okay? From the middle of the throat. Ain.
Ain.
Mashallah, we have a future teacher in the making here. That was a very, very nice sound that you made. And I can't really make it any better than that. Mashallah, very, very nice. Stay with me then, okay? And I'm going to go through a couple of other letters with you, and then we'll have a practice. So if you just stay quiet as I explain. I'm now going to go back to this letter here, okay? Ba. Now, the way to pronounce this, okay, is think of your lips and think of the outside of your lips, the bit that stays dry, and then think of the inside of your lips, the bit that's, because it's inside of your mouth, is slightly wet. You take the two wet bits of your mouth, of your lips, put them together, ba, ba. That's the correct way of making that sound. Have a go.
Ba.
Well done, yeah? Okay, now that's fairly simple to do. I want you to now have a look at this letter here that I'm circling, okay? When we make this sound here, we use the dry parts of our lips, and we take the dry parts of our lips and we put them together, and then we make the sound. So this is meem. Have a go.
Meem.
Well done, beautiful. And at the end, you stop the sound on the end sound, which is just right. There should be no bouncing. Meem.
Meem.
Beautiful, mashallah. Very, very nice. Okay, so thank you so much for your help. Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz for now. And I will now go through one more letter, okay? And this is the noon. Again, it's a very simple letter, and the only thing that I need to point out is that it is composed of these sounds, the na, u, na, okay? Noon. And the thing you have to be careful of is when you get to the end n sound, you don't bounce. So, noon, your tongue touches the top of your mouth when you reach the end. Leave it there and end the sound, and then there'll be no bouncing. Noon. And that's as much as I want to do on the pronunciation. So what I'll do is one more time, just go through the pronunciation of those letters that I focused on, okay, and then we'll move on. This one here, tha, tha, ha, ha, ho, ho, do, do, zo, zo, ain, ba, mim, noon. Okay, so that concludes the pronunciation recap. Okay, have a go at practicing. Pronunciation is important. We do focus on pronunciation this course quite heavily, and as we go through, when we hear people and if they're not pronouncing properly, we will pick up on that and we will practice. So inshallah, with practice we'll all get to a very nice higher standard. Okay, so I'm just now going to move on to this exercise here, okay, which was also covered on, I believe, Tuesday. And the letters that are highlighted in red are letters that are thick and heavy. And when you say them, you have to round your mouth, okay? If I may have a student on the mic.
A1204 is now on the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. A1204.
1204 Danish. Yeah, Danish. Yeah. Go ahead. 1204 Danish. 120. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, if I may have another student on the mic, please.
A1202 now has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Okay, A1202, yes?
Yes.
Okay, well done. Okay,
Hello.
so what we're going to do is we're going to practice on the letters that are highlighted in red, okay? Let's say ho.
Ga.
No, darling. Try and get it from the top of your throat, okay? Ho.
Ga.
Okay. It's a h sound, darling, as in like hotel, hello. It's a h sound, okay? Ho.
Ga.
Okay, we're going to have to practice on that, okay? Don't worry. Just think about the back of your throat, okay? And try and get the very back of your tongue towards the top of your mouth at the back, yeah? And try and have another go.
Ha. Ka.
Okay, all right, not to worry. This is something that we'll have to practice on. And as I say, we will be practicing these as we go along. Let's move on to here.
Sword.
Well done. A little bit thicker and heavier. Round your mouth a little bit more.
Sword.
Well done. Beautiful. This one here.
Zod.
Okay, well done. Now, if I just explain, when you said this, you brought a Z sound into it. And that's actually something that many Urdu speakers will bring in because in the Urdu alphabet, that's how it's pronounced. In the Arabic alphabet, the Z sound. Okay? Repeat
Zod.
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 Beautiful, mashallah. Very nice. Okay, let's move on to this one.
Da. Dwa.
Very nice, yes. You round your mouth a tiny bit more.
Da.
Well done. Okay, and you don't need to stretch for as long as that, but that's very nice. Have a go at this one here.
Sword.
No, darling. This one here.
Oh. Zod.
Okay. Repeat with me, okay? Round your mouth as you say it. Make your tongue slightly heavier, thicker, rounder. Zo.
Dot.
Okay, there's no d at the end, darling. Zo.
Zo.
Well done. Okay. As I say, we will be practicing these. This one
Dot.
Ghaim.
Going.
Well done. Off.
Off.
Beautiful, mashallah. Well done. Jazakumullah for your help, darling, and Allah Hafiz for now.
Jazakallah. Bye bye.
Assalamu alaikum, darling. Okay then, so we've gone through that quite quickly, okay, and I just want to point out that some of these sounds, okay, there are similar sounds to them in the alphabet. For example, this one here, do, okay, there is a letter here which sometimes people will make the sound exactly the same. This letter here, the boat shape with the two dots, is a da, da. You say that as if you're smiling, da. When you say this one here, you round your mouth, zo, sorry, do, da, do. Similarly, between this one here and this one here is a za, za. You smile as you say it, okay? It's a thin sound. Here, you round your mouth, you make your tongue round as well, you make everything nice and soft. Zo. Compare, za, zo. And here, this is you round your mouth, off. It comes from the very back of your mouth, off. If you compare it to this one, gaff, you smile as you say this to make the sound a little bit thinner. Gaff, compare, off, gaff. Okay, so that's a recap of the thick and heavy sounds. Let's move on to exercise 4.1, which is the next thing that I need to recap with yourselves. Okay, so this was something that I think you were covering yesterday, and within this I want to focus on some things that regularly confuse students as they move on to read. Okay, the first letter that I'm going to focus on is an alif. Here it is in its isolated form. It looks like this, just a simple straight line, alif. As the teacher would have explained to you yesterday, when it begins a letter, a word, the alif is written just like this. Nothing ever joins, it doesn't join on to anything else, okay? Alif. It sits by itself. When it's in the middle of a word, okay, depending on the letter that's before, it can be joined to the letter that comes before it. If you look, this of here is joining into an alif. And it goes up and it curls around a little bit at the top. Okay, an alif can join on to letters that come before it, but it doesn't join on to letters that come after it. If you find it at the end of a word, again, depending on the letter that comes before, it can join on to it. So here we have a ha, and it's been joined on to an alif. Now, here is very simple. An alif is fairly simple to recognize. But let me take you now to a letter, lam. Now, here is a lam. It comes down, curls around. When you see it like this, it's very easy to recognize. When it starts a word, a lam can join on to another letter. So here, the straight line and the beginning of the curl, I'll show you here, the beginning of the curl joins on to the next letter. This is a lam. Now I'm going to take you back to the alif and show you the alif here. Because an alif doesn't join on, it sits on its own. So when you eventually get onto the Quran Majid, inshallah, this is something that regularly confuses children. But an alif you can recognize, it never joins on to another letter. It always sits on its own. It will never join on to another letter. A lam, on the other hand, just scroll down, find it again. Okay, here we are. Okay, this does join on. Okay, I'm going to speak a little bit clearer. Can I have a student on the mic, please?
A1227 now has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum, darling. A1227. Okay, not to worry. Discipline in charge. Is my voice clear?
Bear with me 1 second.
Speak. Could you please speak? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Yes, can you hear me?
It's very faint, Baji.
Okay, all right then. I will let me just something. Can you hear me properly now?
Could you please come closer? I've had to actually put in my speakers in order to hear you.
Okay, if I can have a student on the mic.
A1227's been unmuted now. Assalamu alaikum.
A1227. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, not to worry. Another student?
A1230.
A1230.
Huh?
Darling, can you hear me?
Yes. Muslim. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, darling. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sound coming through properly to you?
8, 2, 1. Yes,
Okay, not to worry. Okay, just okay. Okay, I will try and speak louder, and hopefully, God willing, everybody can hear me. Okay, so we'll move on because the time will run away with us. Alarm, when it's at the beginning of a word, it can join on. When it's in the middle of a word, a letter before can join onto it, and a letter after can be joined into. If you compare this, and I'll take you back in a moment to the alif, okay, the way you can always tell whether it's a lam or an alif is if it's joining into another letter, it will be a lam. It will definitely not be an alif, okay? Because an alif never joins into another letter. A lam can join into another letter. If it's at the end of a word, a lam sits on its own like this, okay? And it looks just like it does in this isolated form. So an alif and a lam, on their own, they look very different. You can easily recognize them. But when you do joined up writing, quite often it's easy to get them mixed up, and it's something that you have to remember. And the way that eventually with practice you do get there, but the way to remember is that a lam can join into another letter, whereas an alif doesn't. Okay, and the other couple of letters that I wanted to focus on is, let me go back to here. Okay. These two letters here, a dal and a dhal, okay? On their own, this is what they look like. At the beginning of words, they sit on their own. They don't join into other letters. When they are in the middle, the letter before can join into them. And I want you to notice how this works. Look at this particular one here. There's a meme, and the meme goes to the bottom of the dal, and it joins in from the bottom and it goes around. Okay, the meme goes from the bottom, rises up and leads into the dal. Similarly for the dal, this fa here goes to the bottom and rises into the dal. Okay, it rises into it. It joins into the letter, but from the bottom. And I want you to compare that to these two letters, the ra and the za. When they're in the middle, they can join on to letters that come before. But notice how in here, the ba is joining into the ra, it's joining into it from the top. It comes round, it joins into the ra from the top, and then the ra is written. Similarly with the za, in this case there's a meme. The meme goes around and it joins into the za from the top, and it goes down. Now, these two letters, the ra and the za, the dal and the zal, often when you read the Gram Jeet, you tend to get confused. And with practice, you will recognize them, okay? And if you read the Gram Jeet again and again, you will just get to the point where you can recognize them. But when you're first starting off, it becomes a little bit tricky, a little bit confusing sometimes. So just remember, if the letter that's joining into it is joining into it from the bottom, it's a dal or a dal, if it's got the dot. And if it's joining on from the top, the ra or a dal. Okay, so those were the letters that I wanted to focus on in this particular exercise. These combined letters are what you really need to focus on, okay? This is what you need to practice on. Make sure that you can go through this exercise and recognize how the letters change their look depending on where they are within the word, okay? And the way that you've got to, the things that you've got to look out for is dots. For example, here, there's a dot. In this particular one here, there's a dot. There's a single dot, but it's underneath. That tells me that's a ba. Whereas the same shape here is the same shape. It has a single dot. The dot is on the top. That tells me that's a noon. Okay, so look out for the number of dots and look out for where they are, whether they're above or below. And if you go through this exercise and look at how each letter looks on its own, looks when it starts a word, how it looks when it's in the middle of a word, and how it looks when it's at the end of a word, with practice, you'll eventually get there. Don't worry too much if it's taking you a little bit of time to get to grips with it. As we go through, we'll see these letters again and again, and inshallah with practice, we'll get to a point where you can get easily recognize them. Okay, so that concludes the recap part of our lesson. And what I want to do now is make sure that you know what the homework is. I'm going to just show you here. The homework for today, which is Thursday, is the combined letters lesson. I want you to practice from exercise 4.1 from the letter Dad to Ya. And if you have the book, it's reference pages 25 to 28. And I'll show you which one that is. Okay, so let me go back to the top. Yeah. Okay, combined letters, lesson 4. Just see if I can do it this way. Okay, and I want you to practice bear with me for a second. From the letter here, okay, practice how this letter looks in all its different forms and go down, work through the alphabet all the way down to Ya, okay, how that looks in its different forms. All those letters, have a practice of them, okay? And that is your homework. And as a general guide, just a bit of advice is that sometimes when we give out the homework, time may be a bit tight and you may not be able to write everything down. So if you have a mobile phone, feel free to take a picture of the screen because then you can refer to it later on. You won't miss any information. Okay, so now we have about a quarter of an hour left. And what I want to do is, because it's the first week and some of us are still learning to get to grips with various different things, I wanted to go through some suggested routines that I would like you all to follow. Okay, the first one is a suggested. You don't have to do it this way because we all work slightly differently with our times, but this is a suggested pre-class routine. So just like when you go to school in the morning, you'll wake up at a certain time, you'll go to the bathroom at a certain time, you get changed at a certain time, you have your breakfast at a certain time, leave the house, whether you're walking or driving, whether you're on a bicycle, you need to have a routine. Same here, you're going to come to a class, and it's a very important class because you're going to be learning how to read the words of Allah in the Holy Quran, inshallah. So we want you to be completely ready and arrive on time. Okay, so this is a suggested routine that I have we've suggested to students in the past, and it has helped. Round about 5:30, make sure you do your wuzu. Okay, get yourself all nice and clean. 5:35, these are just suggested times. Brush your teeth. Brushing your teeth is actually very important. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, I was very particular and mindful of brushing his teeth. A clean mouth. And the reason for that is, one of the most important reasons, is that when you are reading letters at the moment, but eventually words that are written, for us from Allah. And when we read them, they come from inside of our body and they come out, and the last point that they leave our body is our mouth. And so our mouth should be particularly clean. Okay, we are reading a very noble book and has a very important message, and we should read it with a clean mouth. Brush your teeth, okay? Put on some clean clothes. As I said in my opening presentation on Monday, when you go out to meet people, friends, family, you always make yourself look nice. Brush your hair, wash your face, put on some nice clothes. When you're coming towards reading the Holy Quran, you're coming towards meeting with Allah because He is speaking with you from the book. So you should present yourself before Allah in a very nice, very clean, very respectful way. Some clean clothes. Boys should have a topi on their head, and the girls should have either a scarf or a dupatta, something on their head. And then you should gather together things that you need. A notebook and pen, a glass of water. Make sure that a mobile which is on silent is near you as well in case you need to take a picture of the homework. And the other important thing is the opening dua. When we start the class, we tend to start it about 10 minutes early. We admit students, and because some people are ready and they're on time and they're waiting, so we admit them into the class. And what we want them to do is to sit there, and if they've got the dua printed out, then they can actually practice on that. Now, I know at the moment we're in our first week, so some of you won't know those dua, okay? But very quickly you will. And if you sit there with your mum or your dad, almost guarantee your mum and dad will definitely know those dua. Practice those dua, okay? And when you practice, the more you read, the more it becomes within your memory, and then before you know it, you can read them without even thinking about them, which would be, mashallah, a lovely thing for your parents to hear. 10 to 5, make sure you log in, make sure you use your correct ID, okay? It's very important. This week we are allowing people in who have not got their correct ID. But after Friday, from the beginning of next week, we are going to have a very strict discipline. And if you haven't got your correct ID, you will not be admitted into the class. If you have any issue about finding your correct ID, how to log in, email us and we will endeavour to get back to you as soon as possible. We try and do it within 24 hours, okay? Correct ID is very important. If you find from next week that you've been left in the waiting room for quite a long time, check your ID. The chances are you're not admitted into the class because your ID is not correct. If you're a member of Atfal, if you're a Tifl, your ID will begin with a capital A followed by about 4 numbers, okay? There'll be no spaces. And if you're a member of Nasirat, it will begin with a capital N and then there'll be 4 numbers, no spaces. that is what your correct ID is. You've all received an acceptance email, and in there you will find all the appropriate details. Okay, so once you've logged in, just make sure that you've got your notebook and pen with you, a glass of water in case you get thirsty. Have an adult sitting with you. Your mum or your dad is ideal. Okay, it's a really nice bonding exercise when your parents sit with you and you're learning to read the Holy Quran, and your parents are part of that journey. And you can talk to them and they can help you. Maybe sometimes the computer, something will happen. They'll be able to help you sort that out. If you're having trouble with learning something, your parents will be able to understand, and they may want to email us and ask for some specific help. And we will try very hard to make sure that that happens as well. Try and make sure that there is an adult sitting with you. A quiet place. It is so important to have a quiet place when you're sitting there. When we call students to the mic, when a teacher listens to the student and talks to them, she is talking to that student, she is listening to that student, but she's also talking to the whole class, and the whole class is also listening. If there's lots of background noise, if you've got a baby brother or sister who's running around, if there's TV on in the background, if there's lots of people talking, telephones ringing, that's not a quiet place. As soon as you're given the mic, everybody can hear all of the sounds that are there. And not only is that not good for you because you're not able to listen to the teacher, it's also no good for the teacher or for the rest of the class, because when she teaches, she needs to be able to hear you to give you proper feedback. Make sure you've got a quiet place. Make sure your correct ID has been logged in, and that your audio is off and your video is off. And then just wait patiently for the teacher to let you into the class. Read that day's opening dua whilst you're waiting to help you memorize it. And as I've said, if you have any questions, any issues, okay, whatever they are, email at info@nqc.org.uk, and we will try very hard to get back to you. Okay, now I've been talking for a fairly long time. Let me just myself call Nasirat, N1273. Assalamu alaikum. N1273. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam, darling. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so I was talking for a fairly long time ago. I just wanted to make sure. Did you understand what I've just been talking about in the pre-class routine?
Yes.
Well done. And you will try your best to try and try and be early if you can.
Yeah.
Okay, well done. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Allah Hafiz for now.
Hafiz.
Okay, so that was a suggested pre-class routine. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say was if you have siblings who are sitting with you and they're watching, welcome. The more the merrier. Anybody who wants to learn, we are more than happy for them to be learning. But when we come and call students to the mic, okay, we will call you by your ID. And some of you have got siblings who are both of you registered on the course. So we will tend to call both of you one after another. But if your brothers and sisters are sitting with you and we call you, it is just you that we will be listening to. It's just you that we will be talking to and we will be listening to. Your brothers and sisters are very welcome to sit there and learn, but we will only listen to the registered students. Okay? Okay. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was headsets. Now, some of you will have got yourselves headsets so that you've plugged them into your computer and you can listen to everything on your earphones, and you'll have a microphone on there that you'll be speaking into. Absolutely wonderful, no problem with that. The only downside is that your mum and your dad who is sitting with you then can't hear what's going on. So there's a couple of things that you can do if you want to use a headset, okay? One thing, well, I say a couple of things. One thing that you can do is you can buy what they call a splitter cable. They're not particularly expensive. Places like Poundland will do them. And you can plug them into your computer, and then into them you can use 2 headsets. Okay, and then that way your mum and your dad who are sitting with you can also have a headset, and they can also hear. Okay, so if you're using a headset, just remember that the adult who's sitting with you can't hear. Okay, but if you're sitting in a quiet place, usually a headset isn't really needed, because when we call you to the mic, we get a quiet background anyway. Okay, so having done that, let me now just go and call a student to the mic, and discipline in charge, if I can have a student to the mic for the end dua.
Assalamu alaikum. Nasirat 1295 now has the mic.
And 1295.
Assalamu alaikum.
Darling, how are you?
I'm alright. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I am also very good. Thank you for Jazakumullah for asking. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like you to help me go through the prayer that we read after we recited the Holy Quran. Whenever we start lessons, we always start off by asking Allah to help us, and when we end, we also, seek Allah's help and mercy. So, as always, we seek refuge in Allah from Satan, the accursed. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
I can't really hear you.
Oh, okay, let me speak up a little bit louder. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Well done. Okay, so I'll take it slowly.
Allahumma
Hamdi.
hamni.
Well done. We'll repeat that. Allahumma hamdi.
Allahumma hamni.
Bil Qur'an.
Bil Qur'ani.
Well done, mashallah. Okay, and we'll just do that. Bil Qur'anil.
Bil Qur'ani. Nil. Uzi.
Well done. Okay, we will practice on that. Mashallah, that was very nice reading. I know that you can't read the Arabic at the moment, but inshallah, by the end of the course, we will get there. But we can memorize it without actually being able to read. One more time, okay? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Allahumma arhamni.
Allahumma arhamni.
Anil azim. Bil Qur'anil
Bil Qur'anil
azim.
azim.
Beautiful, mashallah. Wow, so nice. It's put such a smile on my face, mashallah. If you can now read the English translation of that, please.
Oh Allah, have mercy on me through the great Quran.
Mashallah, well done. Jazakumullah, sweetheart. Jazakumullah, everybody in class. I hope and pray that please make sure you do the homework tonight, and inshallah we will see everybody tomorrow. For the time being, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Allah Hafiz.